Welcome to Fully Charged. Canoo is a newish company in the EV world, though some of you may have known it as e-Velocity before they changed names earlier this year to something more evocative of calm, non-polluting travel. And frankly, something easier to pronounce around the world. Canoo asked us along to the grand unveiling of its first vehicle, which they describe as an urban loft on wheels. Amongst the festivities, I ducked in to talk with Stefan Kraus about their new model and their ambitious plans to make it more affordable than other EVs. Stefan Kraus, everybody's in charge of something here at Canoo, and so it sounds like you're in charge of all the things.
Yes.
Co-founder, chairman, you go back to the very beginning.
Yes.
What many people don't know is sort of the historic roots and e-Velocity and the pivots, and so Canoo is sort of brand spanking new. Fill us in a little bit on that last 19, 20 months of history.
We decided to build a car.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously that's a great idea, but no money, just talent, just people that know how to do it. And I was lucky enough then to find a couple of investors that believed in the team. So we started then in December of 17, the 9 of us. But we always knew that this was not going to be the final name. And that's when we started to look for, immediately also for our brand name, what our brand name is ultimately going to be. And we decided for Canoo.
Later in the week, we cruised over to iconic Venice Beach, California to meet up with James Cox for a closer look. Crucially, we also wanted to know what the public thought of this unique vehicle design and the subscription-only plan. Will it intrigue potential drivers or put them off? Funny that they're here in Venice, California, because a number of people keep asking us if this is a Volkswagen. It's got the windows up top, it's got the little bud vase in the back for the cactus, it's got the accessories clips for your skateboard. And speaking of skateboard, the whole platform that they're so proud of is this skateboard design, this low, flat stack of batteries, the innovative suspension, so that ultimately they can make a variety of vehicle types on this one basic platform. The back seat, the back area is also very utilitarian. It's got a handful of seats that can be configured in multiple ways. And then the thing that they're really proud of from a technical standpoint is steering by wire, which other cars have had before, but they're the first ones to claim no mechanical linkage, which means that ultimately they could put the steering wheel anywhere. It also means that they could use software to tune how it drives in addition to the other components.
You know, when you're doing something new and exciting like this in a space that doesn't really exist at the moment, right? I guess, you know, people are trying to sort of, you know, categorize it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it is kind of a new space, almost 3 chasms in one jump.
Yeah.
It's an EV, which is not entirely new, but still pretty new to most people.
Yep.
Subscription only.
Yep.
Which is very new to most people.
That's
and also a little bit of walking people into shared mobility.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And on one hand, Los Angeles is your first market.
Correct.
Perfect.
Correct. Yep.
But we're not known for our generosity and sharing in some cases.
That's
we're
right.
a little proprietary about we want our own cars.
That's right. And I think that's interestingly why this is so exciting to me, right? For me, you're less likely to share something when you own it, right? And I think the reason for that is you've got like depreciation to consider, you've got like insurance to consider, you've got all these things that are a little bit complex, right? And so doing that sort of equation of whether or not you want to share something isn't easy for everyone, and so we're trying to make it a bit easier for people with this, right? So it's like, if you already subscribe to a car, as you will with the Canoo, we think you'll be more likely to share it. Yeah. I think the model will shift the mindset, right? So it's like, this has happened in plenty of other industries, I think. And it's like, so for me, you'll pay your monthly membership, right? And you'll get access to the Canoo 24/7, okay? So that's sort of just the core of it. We'll also do a number of things that I think are critical, right? You get like firstly, it's no commitment, right? So you can leave whenever you want and give the Canoo back, right? Yep. And then secondly, we'll handle a bunch of the hassles for you, right? So I think what you'll see with that is like things like insurance and charging and, you know, going to the DMV. These things you won't have to worry about, right? So once you've got access to it, you can think about, like, if you got a little, it'll have an app, right? If you got a little notification that was like, look, we've noticed, you know, assuming you gave the privacy, you know, consent, we've noticed you haven't been using the Canoo at these times. We can reduce your monthly membership by X dollars, say $100 or something like that, if you make it available, right? And then you do things like make sure it's clean for them when they get it back, you know, make sure, you know, sort of make the difficult parts of sharing easy, and we think that'll seriously impact how people choose to share.
Is affordability really the Trojan horse to get into this model?
For us, affordability is critical just in the electric vehicle market, right? So
fair enough.
they're currently still more expensive than internal combustion engine cars to build, right? And so what we did was innovate in a number of ways with respect to the business model, right? So Canoo is actually going to own the vehicles, right? And by doing that, we've built them in a way that, as you said, is firstly more cost effective, even though it still looks great in our opinion, right?
Very futuristic.
Right, and then so you do that, and then we've built them in such a way that because they're an electric vehicle, we believe they're going to last longer, right? And that's been proven elsewhere, right? So if we can get sort of 10 to 12 years use out of them and then refurbish them because we own them at set cycles, then ideally we can sort of average out the cost over a longer period of time, right? Which can bring the monthly membership fee lower.
Yeah, so it's more an amortization issue. If you can base it on 20 years instead of 10.
10 instead of 5 is probably, and so it's like, by doing that, hopefully, you know, it'll be good for the customer because it's a lower price, and it's good for Canoo as well because, you know, we've got more people using our service. Yeah, well, it's more sustainable in general, building fewer cars over time. That's right, and then over time, the price of the batteries, which is a core component of building an electric car, will come down. Yeah, and that'll further benefit the customer.
It's really cool. It kind of shocked me at first. I wasn't sure what it was, and my friend and I went up to like a representative walking around, and I like it. It's a little weird, futuristic for sure, Jetson vibes. Yeah. But I like the idea of it. I love that you can like rent it and not have to get tied into a lease or buy a car. I think that's great. Yep. My only concern is it's super big, and with LA and the traffic problem, and people usually just drive by themselves. Is that going to add to the problem, or will they be helping get rid of it kind of thing? Like, how is that going to be incorporated? Yeah, they say it's actually the same size as a Prius. This is? That's what they say. Whoa. Okay. I need to go look at a Prius. So it seems a lot bigger then. It does to the eye, but it could be also like the way it's situated, how many people are here, like not getting to actually walk around it. Sure. Maybe if they put a Prius next to it, that would probably help. Well, it's a bit taller and more square, so that's maybe that's what it is.
I learned that it was like the footprint of a Prius, even though it looks like a bigger car. It's just that they're using the most square, or the most volume for your square footage, and that's valuable, right? So like those kind of things are quirky because they're not traditional, and so it helps people to think a little bit differently about how you'd use a vehicle like this.
And so you went from a name and something that evoked speed to almost mobility volume that's meant to be very chilling and all of that. Was there an actual shift in the tone, or was it coincidental?
No, I think it was on purpose, because what we looked obviously to understand really what people want in the cities of the future, and you use one term quite correctly, chilling is an important thing, you know. Today, you know, we believe the vehicle will also become a living space, in these cities, you know, just to provide some space where you can chill. And it's important in a vehicle of the future. Many of the vehicles we have today aren't necessarily made for this use, and we believe for cities, it's a great way that you have enough space in a car to hang out with your friends, or honestly, in this car you could have a business meeting, right? And instead of, if you think about the CO2 footprint, instead of two people driving long distances to then meet in some building, right? Sure. Why don't we just use the car, to meet? Partially also why we move, right? This is going to be the reality of the future. So I think we have to understand that cars will become also more living space, will become meeting space, will become social space, and I think that's what we want to express with our car.
my number one feature is just the U couch in the back. You know, when I think about, you know, I have spent a lot of time in Ubers in my life, right?
Yes, I imagine.
And you think about, you get in an Uber and you get in the back seat, and broadly it's not made for, you know, sharing or being with your friends, right?
Yeah.
This, you can imagine sitting in the back having like an open conversation. And just having a pretty cool time. The other thing I really like is when you're in the front seat and you're sitting sort of just actually driving, right? It's very transparent. For me, like the first time I was in it, I kind of felt like I was in a video game a little bit. That will be like a really fun thing for people to be driving. And then the final thing for me is I love the length, right? So the length of it is no bigger than a Volkswagen Golf, right?
Yeah.
But when you're inside, it feels incredibly spacious. It's sort of more like a living room than it is a car.
And when I talk to many people in the old auto industry, we still have this romantic notion of our cars,
Yes.
right? And we got our first car with 18 or 16 or wherever you lived, how it was. And this gave you the sense of freedom, and all of a sudden you could go anywhere and do whatever, and this was a great feeling. Well, but our children, you know, my daughters don't have this romantic sense. For them, a car is just a hassle. Right? I don't know where to put them. It's damaged. I need to maintain it. You know, I need to insure it. Today, people don't want to own cars anymore, and they want the car to disappear when you arrive. You know, you want to optimize your arrival time. It's not plus 20 minutes.
I don't want to spend time to park.
Right? You don't want to park. You don't want to worry about a ding on the side. You don't, because you just bought this thing. It's brand new, and you know the next shopping cart is gonna ruin your new baby and things like that. And this is all about taking all this hassle away. And this is what our subscription is. Next to then designing a product that is suitable for us, is also to design an ownership experience that gives you the same thing.
What do you think of the subscription-only model?
I'm for it. We're already doing it with cell phones, so I'm just waiting for it to happen a lot faster.
The subscription model thing, that's different.
Yeah.
But it's kind of in line with at least my belief in a car. We're never looking to own a car. It's not an asset. It's a utility, a way to get around. And you don't want to look at the same thing all the time, right? So to be able to have that flexibility, you know you're going to have a certain number that you're paying on a monthly basis. I think they could be onto something.
Tell me about Canoo's thinking of autonomy, because on one hand you're sort of keeping as much as you can out of the car for cost reasons and to make it affordable.
Yep.
But you're coming out with a bunch of sensors out of the gate.
Yeah. For the higher levels of autonomy, we're planning to partner with one of the winners in that area,
sure.
right? And it does have, you know, a range of sensors and cameras and things that it needs so that we can easily integrate at that point.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this one is that they have decided not to put a lot of screens in the car. In fact, there are no screens in the car other than the speedometer.
Is that right?
Because the philosophy is that everyone brings their own screen. And it's got a space where you can plug it in and use your own Spotify and your mapping and whatever, but also anyone else in the car is going to be more likely to be looking at their own screen. Does that make sense, or would you still rather see all the screens in the car like traditional?
People like gadgets.
Yeah.
People want screens. They're not going to get tired of those.
There's no screen within the car,
Right.
and you ultimately only want a few things, right? You want like music, navigation. You really just want the core things, controlling the air conditioning.
You don't want to figure it out in a rental car, or
That's right.
deal with a sucky navigation.
That's right.
Right.
So it's like, for us, that's like, it's a really good way of just integrating your life straight into the car.
Yeah.
And it's a good, and on the partnering point, right? Like, it's like, we're not trying to create, you know, a platform we own. We're just trying to make it easy for you to use a vehicle. Yep.
People are going to want to put things into the car,
That's
do
right.
stuff. Will a Canoo hold a canoe?
A little canoe. yeah, sure. Maybe a couple of oars.
Yeah.
No, so these seats at the back fold down. So you've got obviously cargo space on the inside, like you think sort of London taxi, if you like.
Yeah, fair.
So there's plenty of space you can use there. Again, going back to like using it in a city, easier to get in and out, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of what we're going for. You can fit 2 bicycles sideways,
Right.
standing up with the sort of wheel bent sideways. You can fold these seats back, and you'll be able to fit. Obviously, some normal luggage in there. It fits like a baby
and a little
stroller.
cargo space underneath I saw
That's
earlier.
right, exactly. Yeah.
Good range, 250 miles.
250
of range,
miles, that's right, yeah.
About 80 kilowatt hours.
That's exactly right. Charge within sort of 28 minutes up to 80%.
Yeah, so it sounds like about 150 kilowatt charging.
Exactly, yeah, and
Okay.
so that the skateboard itself can actually do 300 miles as well. So when we think about different top hats over time, if we're trying to maximize that, we'll be able to.
Sure,
be able
different
to-
motor configurations.
Exactly.
I saw a 220 kilowatt motor, but I also saw talk of 2 or 3 of them in different designs.
There's
Obviously lots of plans.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so the car is very unique. As far as the looks is concerned, it's very unique. It's one of a kind. So if you're actually talking about how you can actually get one or purchase one or own one or lease one, it's very unique as well.
Yeah.
So I think, this will be a win. It's a good one.
So you're about 2 years from launching a product in terms of production. You talked about 2021-ish.
Yeah.
What is the production path?
We actually believe that the car industry, the future looks like that there will be people that manufacture hardware,
Yep.
like we see in the phone industry today.
Which has
And-
happened.
Which has happened.
Magna
right?
and those guys have been manufacturing
Yeah,
cars
but they
for
will
years.
become more prevalent,
Yeah.
right? That I think at the end of the day, these electric cars are so much easier to assemble, have so much less components, right? And there's no competitive benefit anymore in manufacturing itself. There's the competitive benefit in other parts of the business model where you have to focus on in the mobility business.
Any thoughts on next markets after Los Angeles? Like who else should be getting on the wait list now?
Yeah, I think bigger cities within America, obviously Los Angeles, California has the highest rates of electric vehicles at the
Right.
moment, right? So we'll be starting in California and then obviously moving to other big markets in the US.
So for the nerdy stuff, come
Yep.
show me the charge port.
Sounds good, let's do it. So it's just here at the front, press here, Clay.
I see the little 120 volt accessory outlets.
yep.
I hear those won't last for production, but I'm hoping maybe they'll change their mind. You've got a couple years,
That's
but
right, that's
everyone
right.
keeps seeing the
We'll
picture of
see-
that and,
we'll see
and
what
really
people
wanting
tell
it
us.
for camping and,
Right,
and
all
stuff
those
like
sort
that.
of things, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then the other thing I love is the doors. They open out, which I think again makes it feel more spacious.
Yeah, the suicide door design.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Very, also a little bit retro.
Yeah.
Well, and you've teased a little bit as a company the role of blockchain
Yes.
in all of this enabling. How,
Yeah.
how much of a core DNA is that, or what's the relevance to it here?
Well, I think blockchain is just an additional technology. There's other technologies that make this possible, to be honest, right? So blockchain is another technology. It just the feature that we are interested in blockchain is the smart contracting, because it really would move all your financial transactions in a very safe manner to the background, right? So in that sense, people don't really need to deal so much or understand blockchain. The basic idea is how, because in today's .com world, the biggest challenge is, yes, we are able now to use online, transactions, but you always have the issue of identification and authentication,
Yep.
right? And all the hoopty-doops, we have face recognition, fingerprints, we have all our codes and our passwords, and it's always still cumbersome, right? It's easier because obviously it has improved a lot, but at the end still we have to do something. And
Right.
when we feel the smart contract blockchain feature down the road, not immediately, but down the road, will allow you to just do this all seamlessly, right? If the car has an identifier and we know the car and we know the charging station or we know the parking lot and we know the driver, we can now do on blockchain seamlessly in the back any transaction.
Right.
Without you having to identify yourself, without you having to authenticate yourself anymore. and it just happens in the background.
Is this the electric car for you?
Right now, yeah, absolutely it is. I have to wait, and there's going to be competition, but like design-wise and like, you know, the concepts and everything, I love it.
So I'm being kicked out of the secret room so they can do proper work now, but we've had a really good day at Canoo. We've seen one of the first electric vehicles that a company actually doesn't want to sell because it will be subscription only. We've got a taste of the flexible, affordable plans they have for the future to provide electric mobility to the masses, and we have made a date for our next tailgate at a beach party this weekend. See you next time on Fully Charged.